I mean, you could keep the music going, Russell. That's some good stuff. Okay. I'll now accept a motion to change the theme of the convention to "Take the Bastards Down." What do you think? I'm just joking. Just joking. Okay. First of all, I just want to say you all look incredible. Truly, it's such an honor to be gathered here on the beautiful Oregon coast with you, our Oregon Union family, because this work, this organization, this movement, it's truly been an honor to serve during such significant and historic times that we've all been navigating together. And to be in this fight together with you all is a privilege, and to do it alongside your Secretary-Treasurer, Serena Rowe, one of the toughest, smartest, most strategic union nurses and leaders I've ever met. That makes this work and this movement even more special. So give it up for her. And I'll say it's just really special to be back here on the beautiful Oregon coast for the first time in 6 years. Just think about what September of 2019 would have been like. Just 6 months ahead of the pandemic, and a series of events and crises that have changed our lives, our workplaces, and our economy forever. And I'm grateful for the journey, and I'm proud to have stood alongside each and every one of you as we in Oregon have kept our eyes on the prize here in this great union strong state. Am I right? To not let a global pandemic or social unrest or attacks on our values by billionaires and a federal government run by them or anything else get in the way of our most critical mission, to keep Oregon union strong. That's right. And to never stop moving the ball toward and forward towards our vision of an economy and a society that is fair, just, and equitable for every single Oregon worker. You all have done that in spite of the odds that have been thrown our way, haven't you? Now, this is the unique and special time here at convention when our movement comes together to celebrate, to strategize, and to wrestle with tough issues, and to walk out of these convention hall doors more united, more focused, and more fired up for the fights for justice ahead. And what's really special about this room, this is a room filled with warriors for the working class. This is a room that the CEOs and the billionaires hope to God doesn't exist. Because we know what they fear most, don't we? They are scared to death of workers being united, of interacting across sectors, of finding joy in the work of our movement, and of recommitting to the never-ending march towards a more fair and just society. And they do everything in their power on the daily to keep strong, powerful rooms like this one from existing. And they are shaking in their boots when the working class realizes our true strength through solidarity, aren't they? That's right. So look around you. Look at your neighbor, your comrades, your fellow trade unionists. This is that room. And you are part of a fierce and powerful and growing movement here in Oregon that will never back down from a billionaire or a bully. Am I right? So, I mentioned this earlier. Fun fact, this is the largest Oregon AFL-CIO convention we've had in decades. And I think that sends the billionaires one important message, that the Oregon labor movement is on the move, and we're innovating, and we're growing. Am I right? Now, I'm not going to sugarcoat the weight or the significance of this current moment either, and all the challenges that it's presenting. When our whole world is being actively and intentionally destabilized, when our communities are being harmed and threatened and targeted by an inhumane mass deportation agenda, when our unions are seeing unprecedented levels of attacks to the core of our fundamental collective bargaining rights, and when billionaires have been handed the keys to our federal government, it weighs on us in a really big way, doesn't it? If you're like me, there are probably days when this constant barrage of truly insane and previously unimaginable news cycles about the state of our nation and our politics, where it can feel really hard to keep moving forward, to know up from down, or to feel very hopeful about whether or when this all ends. I'm guessing you may be able to relate to that a little bit. But the other part of this that's true is that when times are tough, when it feels like there's no end in sight to a dark period, there is truly no better or more important place to be than with your union family. Am I right? We need each other. We need our solidarity, and we need our unity as much right now as any time in recent memory. And let me cut right to it. There's a lot coming at us, as we all know, in the labor movement right now, from the billionaires and the union busters and the folks in this country and in this region who don't want us to be union strong, don't want us to have a voice at work, and don't want us to have power in the economy. Just think about what our movement has faced over the last 214 days. The mass firings of federal workers in one of the most blatant union busting moves in history, with hundreds of thousands of federal workers having their collective bargaining rights stripped with the stroke of a pen. You can hiss at that. Or postal workers who are concerned about a renewed effort to privatize the United States Postal Service. Or construction workers on jobs funded by the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law or the Inflation Reduction Act, who have already seen funding cut or paused for their projects. Or immigrant workers and their families who are fearful to go to work because of the inhumane deportation raids by masked ICE agents already underway around the country and right here in the Pacific Northwest. That's right. Or care workers concerned about the future of an industry funded primarily through Medicaid reimbursements from the federal government. Or low-wage workers on the Oregon Health Plan, covering over 30% of our state's population, 45% of all pregnancies, and over 50% of all Oregon children. Boo, that's a hiss line too. Or LGBTQ workers fearful to be their authentic selves and concerned about access to the gender-affirming health care that they deserve given the hostility and mean-spirited rhetoric we see coming out of this administration. And while we celebrated, when our nation celebrated 249 years of freedom and independence on July 4th, we all know what was happening on the White House lawn, don't we? As the largest job-killing bill in American history was signed. When Congress and the White House just enacted the largest upward transfer of wealth in history, as they picked the pockets of working people, all to hand billionaires a $5 trillion gift that adds over $3 trillion to the deficit over the next 10 years. That's a big blue line too. So those are just a few of the key grim highlights from the past 7 months. But here's the thing. I'm not interested in talking about the bullshit, because that's what they want us to do, isn't it? To spend all of our time in constant triage and defense mode, to hand over our power in defeat. And so instead, I'm here to talk about what gives us hope, the things that we know to be true, and a future where working families can thrive, not just survive. And specifically, I want to talk about what I often think of as the added responsibility that we all share as part of this great labor movement in this incredible region of our country. Are you down for that? Okay. So first of all, we all know Oregon is union strong. You're seeing it in this room. You're seeing it in the streets, and we're proud of that. And we will do everything in our collective power to not just keep it that way, but we will always work to move the ball forward and make progress. Because here's what we know. Working people in this country are hungry for change. We're fed up, aren't we? And we are doing something about it. With over 3,200 NLRB union elections in 2024, that's up nearly 30% from the previous year, and the large majority of those were successful. Working people are on the move and taking matters into our own hands. Am I right? We also know that the working class sees our movement as the most powerful force for change in our rigged economy too, right? More than 70%, you hear these stats a lot, more than 70% of Americans support our movement, 9 out of 10 young workers support unions, and 60 million Americans say they would join a union today if they had the chance. And that means that organized labor is more popular than every other major institution in the country. We're more popular than Taylor Swift. But I will say maybe we're all Swifties because she is a union member and she just got engaged to another union member, if you saw the news. And we're more popular than just about every politician in America. Am I right? Because we give people hope. And when it comes to this added responsibility that we all share here in the Pacific Northwest, here's what I mean. We are in one of the most heavily unionized regions in the country, where 1 in 5 or 1 in 6 workers is a union member, depending on the year. But even still, these times we are in are uniquely and acutely challenging for our movement and anyone who believes in freedom, fairness, and security. And here's the thing, the billionaires are betting on us feeling too overwhelmed to continue the leadership that the Oregon labor movement has shown for years, because they know that the rest of the nation looks to us for inspiration, model policy, and the next campaign to take on the road to other cities and states. And if they can stop us here in Oregon and in the Pacific Northwest and the Pacific, they can help stifle our movement nationally, right? But as you all know, the working class struggle in this region has been on the vanguard of change and innovation for more than a century and has always been looked to by the nation for progress. So this is in part why I believe we must never forget or walk away from this awesome responsibility. We must show the nation what's possible, especially in dark times like these. Are you in it for that? Okay. And that's like we've done for years with expanding organizing rights, investing in innovative growth strategies, or pushing the envelope of what's possible by leading the nation on economic and social justice campaigns. Or like the labor movement did here when we were the first state in the nation to ban captive audience meetings and attempt to keep the multi-billion-dollar union busting industry in check, setting off a wave of 11 other states taking that same fight on. Or like we've done to help lead the nation on minimum wage and sick days and paid family and medical leave campaigns. And like we've seen in Oregon with innovative strategies to build power and union density in targeted industries like childcare, behavioral health, home care, and cannabis. Or like we've seen with the strategic use of our most powerful weapon, the strike, and the credible threat to one to win new unions and life-changing contracts for healthcare workers at Legacy and Providence, or manufacturing workers at Boeing, or you can keep the applause going. Come on, guys, work with me here. Or grocery and retail workers at Fred Meyer, or public service workers at Benton and Yamhill counties, or grad employees at Oregon State, and faculty and student workers at the University of Oregon. Or like the Oregon labor movement just did when we passed the strongest UI for striking workers bill in the country, helping to level the playing field for any worker who is pushed to strike by their employer as they fight for a fair contract. We did that. And like the Oregon labor movement is doing as we speak, to not just play defense, even when it's hard to focus on anything but the attacks, but to continue to move the ball and make progress. So that's what I mean when I think about the added responsibility that we all share in moments like this. And workers in other states' labor movements, again, are looking to us here in Oregon to show them what's possible, to give them some hope. So are you in it to win it? And will you ever back down from that awesome responsibility that we all share? Because here's the thing, presidents and elected officials go, but the American labor movement's mission of uplifting the working class in our communities never wavers, does it? Our fight to build a fair and just economy for all working people, no matter who they love, where they were born, the color of their skin, or their citizenship status, and to allow every worker the freedom to join a union, that all remains undeterred, doesn't it? And each and every one of us, you already told me you're in it to win it. So each and every one of us must be in it to win it. We must do everything we can to organize new workers. We must never back down from a bully, and we must reclaim our power in every way. So that's the deal. Working people are hungry for change, and the labor movement is still the most powerful force in society to help them make that change. So I'm going to ask a few final questions in closing, and I hope to hear a hell yeah after each one. Are you ready to do everything in your power to grow your union and organize more workers? Hell yeah, remember, hell yeah, not just yeah. Are you willing to make damn sure that 2025 is even more powerful for working people in our movement than last year, despite the odds? Are you going to open up the doors of your unions wide to anyone dreaming of a better life? And are you ready to tell Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and the billionaires to pound sand as we build an unstoppable working class movement for change? Because this is our time. Our labor movement was built for turbulent times like these. So let's remind the world that there is nothing that can stop a united group of workers. Not now, not ever. When I say union, you say power. Union, union, union. Solidarity forever.